Hello, friends. We are here today with my new friend, Kay Harms. We met just a few weeks ago online, and I'm so excited to introduce her to you on Tell Our Story, and just thrilled to be here. So we met online, like I said, and just instantly we had a few conversations, and it just felt like Kay was one of those friends you'd want to meet for coffee every week. She's just so relaxing to talk to. We've just been sitting here the past few minutes talking, and it's just like meeting a new friend. So thank you, Kay, for being here with me. I'm so excited for you to join me and just honored that you're here. So tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into your story.
Well, thanks, Pam. It's so good to be with you and your community today. I am 57, and I say that because I'm a blogger and YouTuber, and I focus on women 50 and above. And I share fashion and beauty and fitness, but also inner beauty tips and motivation with my community. I blog at dressformyday.com, and I've been doing that for about 3.5 years. And I have a YouTube channel where I'm supposed to have a YouTube video up right now, but it is late coming up today. And I post videos every Wednesday there, and it's the same name, Dress for My Day, with Kay Harms. And so my target audience is women 50 and above, and we kind of really just enjoy talking fashion and beauty and fitness and inner beauty. But I also share scripture and a little devotional thought for each day. And so that's what I do.
Yeah, so that's how I met you. I was looking on Instagram, and I just fell in love that you are sharing your faith every day and sharing the gospel, and that's one of the main reasons I reached out to you. And I'm just a few years behind you. I'm 42, so I'm loving that I'm getting to know what to expect, and you just share just honest and real things with your community, and I love that transparency about you. So yeah, so tell us your story. I'm interested to hear. I don't know it in full, so I'd love to, just eager to hear it.
Mhm. So I was born and raised in Georgia. So I'm really a Southern gal. Went to University of Georgia for college. I lived in the Metro Atlanta area all of my life until I went to college. And then after college, my degree is in public relations and journalism. And I had always planned to go to New York and work in a high rise for a big, PR firm. That was my dream and my goal. But as my senior year came to a close at college, I really began to feel like the Lord was calling me into ministry. And so I spent a little bit of time as a children's minister at my home church, just kind of doing a little internship type thing. And then I went to seminary in Fort Worth at Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary in Fort Worth. And yeah, but when I went to seminary, I went and met with my pastor when I felt called into the ministry. And my pastor said to me, he said, and I love him, he's still the pastor of that church. And he said, you know what's going to happen when you go to seminary? And I said, well, yeah, I'm going to get a degree. I didn't know at the time if I'd get a religious education degree or a biblical studies degree or what, but I said, I'm going to get a degree. And then I plan to work in church ministry of some sort. At the time, I really felt called into women's ministry, but this was in 1986. And there really wasn't even a such thing as women's ministry back then. There weren't a lot of women's Bible studies, really. Precept Ministries was just kind of, kicking off at that time. Moore wasn't writing anything. There weren't women's Bible studies. There weren't women's ministries. There was no women's ministry degree. But still, I, felt like I was supposed to go to seminary. But my pastor said, no. He said, what's going to happen is you're going to marry a pastor. And I said, no, that is not what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a minister myself. I felt called into ministry myself. But sure enough, within just a month or so of being at seminary, I met my husband, James. We actually had a class together. I did not even know that. It was a big class. It had I'd say 60 to 80 people in it. And of those, there were 3 women in that class, and I was one of those 3 women. The rest of them were men, and so I didn't notice him, but he noticed me. But then later we met in a little small group Bible study at the home of some mutual friends, and so we started dating pretty quickly, about halfway through that semester, and then by the end of the semester we were engaged, and
Wow.
less than a year later, less than a year of me even going to seminary, we were married. And so my daughter is dating somebody kind of seriously right now. My husband's like, you take it slow. You don't do what we did. But we don't have any regrets. We have had a wonderful marriage. We've had the normal ups and downs of every couple, those things that come with being in ministry, and those things that come with raising a family, and that come with moving around the country. So I ended up not finishing my degree because, like I said, at the time there wasn't really anything in women's ministry anyhow, and we discussed it, and I very willingly put that degree aside so that I could work full time and help my husband get through seminary a little faster. It still took him the full, I think, 4 years to get through his master's degree, but I did work as a technical writer during that time. And then after he graduated from seminary, we had our first child. We moved to a church in Georgia, where he pastored a church in Georgia for a few years. We had our son there. And then within a few years, we moved to a church in Texas, and our daughter was born there. And we lived in Texas for 12 years. He pastored 2 different churches there. And then we moved to Arizona, and we were there for about 15 years, and he pastored 2 churches there. And then we moved here where we live now in Ohio. We live in the Cincinnati area, and he pastors a church here in Cincinnati. And so we have moved all over the country, in my estimation. I know there are places, regions we haven't lived, but we have lived away from home all this time. But God has been good to bless us with family and with friends and with support, and with the opportunity to get back home to visit family very regularly too. So it's been a wonderful life of ministry. I've loved being a pastor's wife. It is hard some days. It is emotionally devastating at times. We have been through some very, very difficult seasons in ministry, but the rewards far surpass the hardships.
Yes.
And we have felt very blessed, and we have felt very obedient, so God blesses obedience. And
Absolutely.
so we feel very rich in that. And so during that time, when I was, all those years, I did do women's ministry. I have led women's ministry in our churches. I have written 3 Bible studies that have been published, as well as a devotional book and a book about friendship. I had a blog for a number of years at kharms.com. I still have that blog, but I don't write there anymore. That was a purely inspirational blog. I had
Right.
speaking ministry. I still do have a speaking ministry. Just, this past year has been a little different, but I've got a speaking ministry where I've spoken at women's conferences and retreats all over the country, and several places in Canada and also in Japan. And so I've really been able to fulfill that call that God put on my life in women's ministry. But at the same time, I was able to stay home and raise my kids as a full-time mom. And I've just, then as my kids grew and they moved on out of the house, that's when I began to do more writing and more speaking. And then eventually I transitioned into this fashion arena. And I did that for a reason. Several reasons. One, I needed to start contributing more to our income. I had, done that to a degree, but really just been kind of keeping myself going, like keeping my ministry going is about all I was doing. But I wanted to be able to contribute more to our income. So I needed to pivot there. I needed to monetize my blog and everything. And so I decided to do fashion and beauty and fitness and all, but I still wanted to make sure that I shared the gospel and shared discipleship opportunities there. And also I see it as the way I see it is like I left the deep end where I was just having deep conversations and talking about deep and profound things all the time
Right.
at my kharms.com blog. And I've waded into the shallow end where sometimes we have more shallow conversations that then lead to deeper connections and relationships so that we can then have those deeper spiritual conversations with people who might not would have them otherwise.
Right. I love
And
that.
so I still feel very much like this blog, this YouTube channel is still just an extension of that women's ministry calling that God put on my life all those years ago.
Oh, I love it. I had a similar experience whenever I guess when I was about 18, I felt that calling. We were at a missions conference at our home church back then, and where missionaries would come in and share their stories. And so, um, I just felt that calling. I was willing to go anywhere and do
Mm,
whatever. And then my husband and I, we weren't married at the time, but we went on a mission trip to Africa. And so, I was willing to go to Africa wherever, but we ended up going to Texas to help start a church there in Austin, Texas, and then just moved back home and helped start a church here. So just, like you said, even with the Sadie and Jane business, I feel it's an extension of that calling in
mhm.
a different way, to share the gospel in a unique way that, maybe people wouldn't hear it in a church setting.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. We have to get creative and we have to do, I think, for me, if I don't do things like this, then I can live in a bubble, especially as a pastor's wife. We can live very much in an insulated bubble of just our church and just Christian friends. And this has given me an extension, not only to women who may or may not be believers, but also into the business world,
Mm-hmm.
where I constantly have contacts and affiliations with people in business. This afternoon, I have a conference call with somebody who sells, I don't know, teeth whitening systems or something. And so I've had an ongoing affiliation with a watch brand in Norway, and I've gotten to just deal with them a lot. So, those are relationships that I've had the opportunity to cultivate. They know who I am. They see my testimony consistently, and I wouldn't have had those otherwise. So.
I know. I love how just being online just opens those doors and kind of breaks down walls of any barriers, and we
Mhm.
just get to share Jesus and make him famous. I'm so
Right.
just humbled and honored that we get to do that in such you know a huge way. I know that there's limitations in other places, but I just want to take advantage of the time that we have now and just make Jesus famous.
Right. I love that. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I loved your story. And is there anything else you want to share with us?
Well, so now, of course, my kids are grown and gone. I have my son and his wife live in Columbus, Ohio. So they're just, less than 2 hours away.
Yeah.
And my daughter lives in the Atlanta area, and she is actually, she works part-time for somebody else, and then she works part-time for me. And so that's fun. And so we get to see them a little bit more often than we would have if we'd still been in Arizona. So that's fun. And a lot of my community, of course, that I work with at Dress for My Day, they also are empty nesters. And so we have that in common too.
Right.
And that's a whole different phase of parenting.
I'm
But
not ready for it yet. I'm not ready.
right. No, I know. Well, I really felt I've always been the kind of mom who just enjoyed whatever stage we were at, when they
Right.
were little babies, I enjoyed that. But as they moved into school, I really enjoyed that. As they got into high school, even, I enjoyed those years. And I even enjoyed the years when they went away to college. They didn't go too far from us. They went to University of Arizona, both of them did. So they were within an hour or two from us. So that wasn't bad. But as life moves on, I think God does give you the grace not only to handle those different stages, but really to enjoy them. If you allow yourself to enjoy them, you can buy into the press that, oh, it's terrible and devastating. And it is hard. Transitions, changes are hard,
Right.
but it is not devastating because you get to see your children become who God made them to be. You get to see them do the things that He has called them to do, and all those seeds that you planted, you get to see them, start to come to fruition. So those are good
Yeah.
years, and they're good things that happen. You have different relationships with them as they turn into adults, but
Right.
it can still be a blessing, and it can still be a good thing in your life.
Yeah, that's encouraging because
Um,
that's what I've been trying to tell myself. We get to go step into this new season and new adventures, and it's just going to be fun to see how she blossoms and grows in her faith. So I'm
right.
going to take that advice and and think that way.
Absolutely.
Well, fine. Well, thank you so much, Kate, for joining me today. I've enjoyed it, and I'd love for everyone to go and follow Kay at dressformyday.com on her YouTube channel and Instagram and blog, and she just has so many great fashion tips, and so I know you'll enjoy that, and just such a relational experience. So I thank you so much, Kay, and thank you for just sharing Sadie and Jane with your audience. We're really honored that you would do that. So we appreciate you.
Thanks. That has been a pleasure. I really enjoyed introducing the T-shirt brand and your gifts to my readers. And I'm going to be, of course, doing that with my YouTube channel soon. I also wanted to mention, though, that I can mention the other blog, kharms.com. It is still up and going, and it has a full library full of inspirational blog posts if your readers or your viewers are interested in that, because
Yeah.
and my books are all available there. I have a DVD series that's available there too. And then my books are also available on Amazon. So you just, put in K Harms and they should come up. But so if anybody's interested in the women's Bible studies that I've written or the devotional guide or anything like that.
Yes. That's awesome. I love how you've just continued that women's ministry,
Mhm.
even in a different way. So I
Right.
love that.
Right.
Yes, well, very good. Well, thank you all for joining us. And if you're watching the replay, we thank you for that. And thank you, Kay, again for being here. We hope you have a great day.